Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
I believe we'll go ahead and start, just so we can keep on our schedule, because it's all about keeping on the schedule. The schedule. I wanted to start this off with a quote that I was looking for here. Well, we can all introduce ourselves if we want. I'm Robert.
Hi, my name's Mark.
Ben. Christian.
Keeping in tradition. So this quote, do not follow the ideas of others, but learn to listen to the voice within yourself. Your body and mind will become clear, and you will realize the unity of all things. So in our tradition, we always repeat things twice, sometimes 3 times. Do not follow the ideas of others, but learn to listen to the voice within yourself. Your body and mind will become clear, and you will realize the unity of all things. So, what am I doing sitting here talking to you? You might wonder. That's a quote from Dogen. And it's something that I personally find very important for me in my practice. Do not follow the ideas of others, but learn to listen to the voice within yourself. Your body and mind will become clear, and you will realize the unity of all things. So, when we sit, I'm sure that you recognize that there is a voice within yourself. It may be saying something like, I wonder if I turned off the bathwater. I don't want to be here. This is stupid. I want to go home. Oh, listen to that bird. Or wait a minute, what was that? And my mind stopped. What do they mean by listen to the voice inside of you? I think that may have been what brought us here. The fact that we were wondering about all these voices that we were hearing in our head, and what they were telling us to do, what they were telling us that we wanted, needed, desired, or needed to change about ourselves or our circumstances, our situation. Does he mean listen to that? Because when we sit, we see that we have a busy mind. Some of us, not all of us, but we have a busy mind. And it's telling us a lot of things. And maybe it won't quiet down. Maybe it's constantly moving with that forward momentum that we've created because of the lifestyle that we have and what it is we have to do. Because we all, pretty much sitting here, work in the same industry. And there's a lot of energy around what it is that we do. We have to use our minds all the time. We have to be thinking, we have to be planning, we have to be, on our toes. It's expected of us to be utilizing our minds and to be thinking all the time. And even if we're not doing anything, we better look like we're doing something important, or there might be trouble. So, I know that sometimes in the past for myself, listening to the voice within myself seemed to get me into trouble. Because sometimes the voice would say things like, oh, well, why not just go to the bar? And so I'm listening to a voice inside myself. It told me to do that, and I listened and I went. It's like this itch that needs to be scratched. It has to be scratched. Sometimes it's very subtle, and other times it's very forceful. And I don't really think when I look at this quote that what Dogen may be saying, now I'm just assuming this, that this voice within myself may not be the habitually conditioned mind. That might be different than the voice that he's trying to point to. He's not telling us exactly, this is exactly what to do, everyone. That's really not the way to really show anybody anything. So he's just pointing. And then we have to use discernment, right? Because he's also saying, do not follow the ideas of others. He begins by telling us not to listen to what he's saying in this whole thing. And then he tells us to listen to this voice within ourselves. And then we can look at that and we can see that when we're sitting, why would I listen to this? In a lot of circumstances, this voice has made me, I say in quotes, unhappy with it. It's condemning of me, Robert, my body, my habits, my mind, the things that I do. It condemns me. The mind spends a lot of time in self-condemning, beating us down. We're beating ourselves up with our own mind. So why would I want to listen to that, this thing that makes me feel unhappy? So here's the conundrum that's very interesting. Even looking in that statement in our practice and what we do when we're just sitting, and things like this arise, when we're just sitting and we're practicing not thinking, there's a lot of thinking and a lot of not just sitting. I'm going to put my hand up here and say that happens for me. There's times when I'm sitting here and my mind is just going crazy. Why do I want to listen to that? Because on the other hand, our practice says, don't think. And then he's saying, well, listen to the voice within. Wait a minute, is that thinking? If I'm listening to the voice within, am I not thinking? And this is his concept. He's telling me not to follow it in the same breath. And this is your body and mind will become clear. Body and mind. Not just mind. Your mind will become clear. Why does he include the body? Very interesting. Well, this has a story to it. Dogen became realized, awakened, or enlightened when he had the experience of body and mind dropping away. It's like that was his moment. Body and mind dropped away. So that's where he came from in a lot of his talking, a lot of his teaching. And it doesn't help us much with this quote unless we understand that. His awakening was body and mind dropped away. And that's part of this practice too. So when body and mind become clear, so that means body and mind is clear. Clear means clear. There's nothing there. There's no more attachment to the pain in my knee. There's no more monkey mind that's prattling on. These two things are clear. So then you'll realize the unity of all things. So that means that we have an experience of we are one with everything. And I know that this phrase has probably been overused pretty much, right? It's kind of like any other, it's becoming a catchphrase. So in this practice, if we're to do that, taking this opportunity to sit and practice not thinking, we're not then following the ideas of others. We are in a sense, because we're taking the form to sit down, and this is all, we're sitting here in a zendo that's fashioned after a Japanese Zen temple. That form is true. That is someone else's idea or concept, right? So, but when we sit down here on this cushion and look at the reason we look at the wall, why would we look at the wall? That's ridiculous. Shouldn't we be sharing this time together? When we look at this wall and we sit and body and mind become clear, then we're not listening to anybody else's ideas. We're not taking on anyone else's ideas. Even though this temple is here and we're sitting on black cushions and there's a statue of Buddha over there and we have bells and we have all these things, this structure unto itself is nothing but the foundation for our practice. It's something that allows us the opportunity to just sit, just look at the wall, and let body and mind become clear. And when we do, this practice becomes our practice. And when that happens, what happens here is ours. Now, I know that we can get caught up in words, because a lot of time we want to drop self-referral. Nothing is mine, I own nothing, etc. But bear with me for a while in my inept ability to be able to point to something that is extremely difficult to point to. This practice becomes ours. What happens here and here is for us. And this just gives us this amazing opportunity to align with that. When body and mind become clear, then we are truly present with attention in the moment. Attention, not thought, not thinking, not attached to body, not attached to mind or sound or any of this structure. None of this exists. This isn't here. We are not here. Suddenly, when body and mind become clear, the last sentence, and you will realize the unity of all things. Not adhering to anyone else's idea or concept of what that means. Okay? Not adhering to any my concept or Buddha's or anyone's concept of what the unity of all things is. In this practice, you have the opportunity to have the direct experience of that. So there is this moment here that's provided for you now by you of your own contribution, creating this retreat today and this opportunity to sit here and the great blessing we have from this place to be here. We have the opportunity to be able to meet our true self. That's what happens between this space and this space. The arising of the true self. The experience, the touching of it, the tasting of it. By simply putting our attention on this posture, this sitting, and this opportunity to allow everything to settle and stop. And then when that happens, dropping all ideas, our ideas, other people's ideas and concepts, body and mind settle, become clear, and then we have the opportunity to understand the last thing that he's saying, realize the true unity of all things. Not a concept, but an actualization of that. So everything is here for us to do that. This space, the bells, the cushions, the roof, everything is here for us to just be able to touch that. These four simple sentences. So that's what this is, what we're doing. It's this opportunity to meet that true self when the concepts, other people's concepts, our concepts, mind, body become clear. The opportunity is there to understand the true nature of our being. And it can happen in any breath. And if you simply have attention on your breath, just put attention there. And we can talk later about practice if you have questions about that. Because sometimes there's a lot of struggle that goes on here when we're sitting and facing the wall. We can't even begin to imagine that we could have a moment of body and mind being clear. There's a meditator, there's this one that wants to do it right, that wants to be perfect at it, that sometimes can actually keep us from just being, just sitting. And one of my teachers said to me once, invite people to sit when your practice becomes ordinary. And I thought, well, that doesn't sound very exciting to have an ordinary practice. Shouldn't there be, rockets going off and enlightenment and, connecting with the universe and flying off into space and merging with black holes, etc.? What does he mean by ordinary? And why do I want to sit here and work so hard if all I'm going to have is some ordinary experience? I can do that at home watching television. But I want to share that with you as my teacher shared. The practice will become ordinary. You'll just be sitting, literally, just sitting. And just bringing your attention to that. And the term mindfulness, I think, is getting a little overused. So I kind of like going back to using attention, as that story I was telling you before about the person coming to the teacher and asking what Zen was, and he said attention, and then he said what, and he said attention, and attention. He said attention 3 times. So when we're sitting, we're just sitting. When we're breathing, we're just breathing. When we're walking, we're just walking. And in our tradition, we sit without thinking. Now, like I said again, do not follow the ideas of others. It says right here, Dogen, our founder. Okay? That's very interesting. This is your practice. This is all for you to see what it is that you see. And it's all set up for you to be able to have that experience so that you can hear the voice within yourself. And no one can tell you how to do that. But this is just the foundation for you to be able to experience that. So that's what's going on here. That's why there's not a lot of teaching in this tradition. So we just sit. And we sit without any kind of expectation of the outcome. Because we definitely don't need to add anything more to our experience. We've all got really full lives and a lot of stuff in our minds. So when we come here, we don't need to have a whole bunch of instruction as to how this is supposed to be done. You can just throw out the how-to. There's a way to sit. I can show you how I've learned how to be able to sit like this for a really long time. There is some instruction there that can be helpful. But the rest of it is just my stumbling along and trying to explain something that literally can't be explained, but can only be alluded to or pointed to. But that's it. That's the talk. So here is your opportunity, and this is your practice. And what's here? It's all here. Okay? It's all here. I know you all know that. Everything you need to know is here. And that's all I'm here to say. That's all there is that can be told. And in this place, it's like when you go to let's say a place where you can play pool, they have things there so you can play pool, like pool table and pool cues and balls and chalk, and they keep all those things there. And it's a place where people play billiards. They're not skating in there. Well, sometimes they have both, but let's not get too far off the track. So that's what this is. This is a place for you guys to come and play pool. All of the tools are here. And the place is made for something specific. And it is to practice. And this practice is what it is. Whatever it is in the moment. It's ever changing. It's constantly changing. And I've been meditating for a long time, but I've only been practicing this for just over 3 years. I've been sitting here for my spot's over there usually. That one. I get to stare at that piece of wood over there. And my teacher Michael always says, well, you have that split personality over there when you're sitting, because that piece of wood, because he usually sits in the one right next to it. So I've been sitting here for a while, and I'm just sharing with you the things that have arisen from that experience. And like I said, I can show you how to sit longer and with less sleepy legs. Thank you all. If you have any questions, we can do questions. Does anybody know when we're supposed to do zazen? That's a good question. I think we're off schedule a little bit.
Do you have it on your laptop?
No,
It's on the wall outside.
it's
too.
right over there on that little podium thingy. Yes, Christian?
I'm always stricken by
Thank you, Mark.
the lack of need to sit, to find the things that I find when I sit. So, if everything, I've come to, I believe our practice ultimately points to ourselves, and only ourselves, and nothing that we learn, but only things we knew but didn't recognize. So I'm always struck that I recognize that while I'm sitting, but what I'm recognizing is that I really don't need to be sitting.
I would open this back up and point you to a quote that one of the Roshis down the road said, that pretty much the same thing. There's absolutely no reason to do this. You don't need to do it. It's ridiculous to sit and do zazen because you don't need it. Thank you for that.
Well, if you don't need it, why do you do it?
Why not? This is a pointer again in the teachings. You might want to ask or look a little deeper and say who needs zazen and who doesn't need zazen. I hear some wheels turning. That's good. I wanted to mention something to you all as you're doing your individual work here. And this experience is a very sweet practice. And another one of my teachers said that. And it was midway between a session where I had enough, tiger balm on me to, make me slide across the floor, and I was in a tremendous amount of physical pain. And I just was like, that's just insane. How could this ever become sweet? But it is. There's a sweetness to this practice because we're alone, and we're alone, and we're alone, and we're not alone. There's a lot of feeling that we're by ourselves in this, but here we are. We're not alone. We're here. And one of the things I wanted to share with you is that there are some things that you can know if you are feeling that there's too much mind. And I can share those things with you. If you feel that mind is a little bit too crazy, and you just can't see your way past this chatter. There are some things that I can share. It's all not no teaching. I mean, there are some things that we can learn. That's up to you. I like to let you sit and just study the self with the self. I mean, that's all we're really doing. If there isn't anything more, we can sit